Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and participants. Welcome to our workshop on the empowering journey of becoming a successful lawyer as a Muslim lady, hosted by the IDM Nations campus. We are honored to have you all here, and I'm your host, Sameeha Feroze. Our workshop today features a distinguished lineup, starting with our guest speaker, Mrs. Rinuza Zainnahas. She is an old girl of Southlands College, Gaul. After completing her advanced level, she entered University of Colombo and graduated in law, obtaining a Bachelor of Laws degree in 2018. She was enrolled as an attorney at law from the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka subsequently. She is also an advanced national diploma holder in human resource management. She has experienced several diverse legal roles. She has represented University of Colombo in the Office of Public Representations Committee in Constitutional Reforms. Her insights and expertise will provide invaluable guidance for all aspiring legal professionals. Joining her are our co-panelists, Uzma Khan, who is a preliminary year law student at Sri Lanka Law College. She was placed Ireland second at the Law Entrance Examination 2022. She's an old girl of Muslim Ladies College and Devi Balika Vidyalaya. And Miss Saara Bandara, who is currently a reading attorney and is a student at Sri Lanka Law College. She gained her LLB honours awarded by Buckinghamshire University from IDM Nations Campus International. She is also an old girl of Muslim Ladies College. And the third co-panelist for the day, Miss Afra Ameen, who is a prospective law student. She's currently a student of Muslim Ladies College, art stream. She is passionately following political science and media as her subjects. Without further ado, let's dive in. Let me start with the first question for the day. This question is directed to our guest speaker, Miss Rinuza Zainnahas. When did you decide to become a lawyer? And what was the path you took from the last day at school to your first day as a lawyer?
Thank you, Sameeha, for your introduction. And before I answer my question, would like to thank Mr. Munivara Surya Bandara and his brother, Mr. Giman Surya Bandara, for the invitation and for having me for this. And before I start, I would like to thank each and every one of you, and good evening and assalamu alaikum for each and every one of you for joining this session. And as Sameeha asked, when did you decide to become a lawyer and the path you took? That was the question that you asked, right? So if I'm to start, actually becoming a lawyer was one of my dreams when I was a kid. So it happened when I was about 13 years, during the kinder years of life, where I was a very introverted person, and I used to be very silent in school as well because my mother passed away when I was 11. Before that, I used to be very talkative and a naughty kid in school. But with her demise, there are certain behaviors that I had in my life. And also in the meantime, when I grew up to be about 13 years of age, I used to see my aunt, who is far distant relative of mine. She was a senior leading lawyer in Colombo at that time, a lady. She was the epitome of success, I saw. Her ways in life, her professionalism, and her conduct was, it actually inspired me to who I became. So I looked into her when I really wanted to become a lawyer, because she is very professional. She used to help people. She represented people who are very vulnerable, free of charge, like in a bona fide manner. She was a lady lawyer who actually stood for a lot of legal rights. Although she was in Colombo, she used to come to Gaul for her cases. She was a distant relative, so I used to look up to her. I wanted to become like her because I was very silent and all that. I really wanted to become a confident woman like her. And also in the meantime, I used to tell my father, he's like my best friend, because I did not have my mother when I was growing up. So I used to tell I really wanted to become a lawyer to help people, as I saw when I was small. And once, because I'm originally from Gaul, so I used to go for holidays to Colombo. I really wanted to go to the planetarium once. But in the particular day when we actually went, it was closed. So it ended up my father taking me to the law faculty, where I came after about 5-6 years. At that day, I kept myself like a definite chief aim to become a lawyer, to come to the law faculty and be a graduate. So that's my start of how I wanted to become a lawyer. And the path you asked, Sameeha, about the path I took. So in order to me to get into the law faculty, I thought the best way, and what I liked was to do in art stream. I did logic and scientific method, then political science, as well as I did media and communication studies. Then I knew I need about 1.9 or 1.8 EZ score based on the cutoff marks of the previous years. I knew from Gaul, at least you need 1.8 or 1.9. So I really worked on that. And I passed the exam in a good EZ score and a rank as well. So that's how I got into the Faculty of Law, University of Colombo. I completed my 4 years there, the bachelor years. And then I became an undergraduate. Then I became a graduate. Then I did my final law exam at the Sri Lanka Law College for the attorneys at law. Then I passed that. Then after passing that, I did my apprenticeship at the Attorney General's Department of Sri Lanka. Then I enrolled as a attorney at law of the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka. That's the path that I took.
Just like how our guest speaker, Mrs. Rinuza, had an inspiration, several participants of today's meeting might find her as an inspiration and might be the reason to start on their legal career, the motivation. So let's move on to ask the second question. This question is to Miss Uzma Khan. When did you decide to become a lawyer, and what was the reason behind that decision?
Yes, hello Sameeha. So thank you for the introduction, and I would like to thank IDM Nations Campus for giving me this opportunity. So Assalamu alaikum and good evening to everyone. So you just asked me when I decided to become a lawyer. So to be honest, my decision came a bit late. I never actually had an idea or a childhood dream of becoming a lawyer, unlike Miss Rinuza. I even never thought I'll study law someday. When I decided to study law was, I'm currently also an undergraduate at a state university. I'm following a science degree. So when I decided to study law, I would say is actually my father. He wanted me to sit for the law entrance exam, and he was interested in me pursuing law because he thought it was a good field and it was a really good qualification to have. So that was a starting point for me, and I prepared for the entrance exam. That was last year in 2022. We had the exam in November. So I really prepared very diligently. I put in a lot of effort because it's an extremely competitive exam, and I took it with all due seriousness. And Alhamdulillah, I was able to become Island second in my first attempt also. So that is basically how I decided to study law and then ended up becoming a law student.
A different story, but again an inspiring one. So let's move on to our next question. And this question is again directed to Miss Rinuza Zainnahas. Is being lawyer a good profession for a Muslim girl?
So if I'm to answer that, there are like different explanations in the Muslim community within Sri Lanka about whether the particular being a lady lawyer is okay. We have a little bit of, as a whole, we have a little bit of, issues pertaining to that. But if I'm to talk about my experience, yes, because being a lawyer is a good profession for a lady. I mean, when we talk about confidence and a lot of reasoning that I have, I truly believe being a lawyer, particularly a lady Muslim lawyer, is one of the best decisions I've taken in my life. So if I'm to talk about my experience as a lawyer within the past years, I have come upon seeing a lot of sensitive issues in the society. We have a lot of vulnerable communities, and some issues are even unfathomable. If I'm to say, I was at the Dangerous department, I worked earlier. So my madam, who was my mentor, I mean, my senior, Madam Suashira Jabira, who's a really professional person who is well known. So she used to tell me, you have to be able to sleep peacefully at night. Whatever you do, whatever your case you follow, you always think, I mean, whether it's right to do this or not right to do this and all that. And if I to say why I'm telling that it's better for a lady to be a lawyer, is it a good profession? That's what Sameeha asked me. So I would say yes, definitely yes, because there are a lot of sensitive issues. So if you take our society, the ladies are vulnerable mostly. People can argue on that. And there are children. If I'm to say, there is a particular child unit in the Attorney General's department which addresses to the child victims. So child victims in the sense who are victims of either rape, statutory rape, and grievous sexual offences. So it's called grave sexual abuse. And there are a lot of murders involved and so and so. So if you take the CH unit in particular, a number of cases come every single day. You cannot even believe the amount of cases relating to children. And when you see that, it's very sensitive because I'm also a mother. And when I was there during my time at the Justice Department, so as you all might know, offenses against the state means, I mean, if you take the penal code, there are certain offenses. So if they are committed by some person, so the state represent the victims. So like statutory rape, murder, and grave sexual offenses. So the state represent them via the Attorney General's department. So they represent the victim. So there are instances, I can talk now because those cases are now, the case I'm talking about is a little bit very sensitive, and it's all over. The justice is, I mean, at last, justice is done. So there are instances where that girl, I mean, the victims of these offenses cannot even afford a pair of shoes. So how would they afford to pay for the legal fees and everything? But in Sri Lanka, we have a system where the state represent those victims because these are penal code offenses. So my madam and myself, we really worked hard day and night sometimes for these cases. We write written submissions to the Court of Appeal. It sometimes takes weeks to write because we think a lot, we put a lot of cases, a lot of research, and we try our best to do the justice. So we were actually successful, justice was done, and that's something as a lady and being a Muslim, I'm happy about. Like self-contentment, you call it in English. So, and also I go by the verse in Surah Nisa. So mainly many of the girls here who is attending today are Muslims. So I can talk about it and give a guidance of what I thought when I was a girl. So in Surah Nisa, it says in one verse, Allah says, I mean, always you firmly believe in justice. You do justice, even if it's against your children, even if it's against your parents, even if it's against the rich or the poor. You do justice because Allah is watching. Do not par in with the injustice. Always seek justice and firmly stand yourself for justice. That's Allah says. So at the end of the day, I'm happy being a lawyer because I'm self-contentment is very high. When you do a case and if it ends up in a good one, there the justice is met for for these children. And at the end of the day, I'm so happy. And recently, I was able to take a protection order in respect of a Muslim lady and a child who were domestically abused by the husband and the father, so-called father, for 20 years. So we were able to take a magistrate court order, a protection order under the Domestic Violence Act in 2005. So actually, being a lawyer is a good profession for a Muslim lady if you really want to see the justice happen.
Indeed, none other than a Muslim girl will be able to understand the problems of the Muslim female community than a Muslim female lawyer. So the next question is to Miss Afra Ameen. And the question is, what made you decide to choose law as your career after A-levels?
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. First of all, I would like to thank Gimhan sir and Munivara for giving me this chance and for giving me this opportunity. And also, I feel very privileged to share my words with y'all and to be here to listen to these expertise. I'll start off with my personal experience that I had. One day when I was using the public transportation, I encountered two girls getting harassed by a middle-aged man. And then there I was moved by the bravery of a girl who was able to file a lawsuit against that man and took a step to stop the discrimination. I've been encountering a lot of public like harassment and everything, but nobody was so much brave to do that. And then I was really astonished by it. And then I found out that she was a law student, and that was the first time I thought that I should actually like become a law student. That was the very first time I was inspired. Actually, just like Miss Uzma Khan said, yeah, I also realized that I wanted to become a law student very late, but it's not very late, but somewhat late. I guess it's not too late. Also, I would like to mark that today is a very special day for women in history, because the continuous struggle for women's participation and inequality in all spheres of life and society was put to an end as of a day today. For the first time in the US history, it was ensured that women's right to vote on August 26th, on a day like this, like nearly 100 years ago. Yeah, so till then, they've been fighting so much and they've been voicing out their opinions, but it didn't end. So, likewise, even in our society, every day we go through like so many mistreatments, abusing, and inequality. Many Muslim girls are oppressed by the patriarchal society and then they are unable to let it out. And also, like, we are unable to help them as well. Even to help them, we are unable to stand up for our sisters or for our mothers, and we don't even know our rights and our guts. We see a lot of our friends and everyone struggling. So that I realized that even if we stand up, sometimes we are not heard properly or we are not given the proper importance. I really thought that encouraging my study, my passion to study law after A levels will enhance me to bring at least a small change in the society. And also, like, given the situation, I think that is the best option for me to open doors for my fellow sisters and brothers who are struggling by the injustice in the society. And also, I'm an art student, and also I'm currently following subjects as political science, media, and literature. I really love both of these subjects. And I personally feel that choosing to do law after A levels would empower us both socially and politically as well. Even I myself encountered a situation like misjudgments and contempts when I shared my ambition to be a lawyer. Everyone was like, aren't you too naive to be a lawyer? Aren't you too weak to be a lawyer? And it only suits men. I was like, I was so astonished by those kind of replies. But with my resilient and persistent personality, I strongly believe that I can mark a place in the society and help my fellow citizens by pursuing law as my career. And also, I thought that I want to uplift the Muslim woman's status in the society of Sri Lanka and also around the world. And also, I want to bring equal treatment for women in both public and domestic sphere. Also, in Sri Lanka legal system, there have been many loopholes for like laws to support for women, and also that has been an advantageous for the violators of women's rights. And also there are only very few laws have been enacted for women's welfare. So I think our continuous fight and battle against such supremacies can bring us much more fair justice in the future. Even honestly, actually, like gender sensitive laws of women are formed and issued by men. So, which ends up being an advantage to the patriarchal society. So, this is an most important reason why, my dear sisters, I was urged to do law as my career after A levels. I also realized that education would socially contribute for the uplifting of Muslim girls in the social sphere. So, as the first step, therefore, I thought that as the first step of solving this issue is to first educate ourselves about the existing legal setup so that I myself can act with great responsibility and deal with issues faced by women. And also, I want to become an inspiration one day, like Miss who talk now. Like, I also want to become an inspiration like her for those who are planning to follow the law as a career. Like, I was inspired a lot by her for what she taught right now. And also, many young Muslim girls and sisters and mothers are facing a lot of hardships. I see that every day in my life from their non-supportive friends and families. So they be like, sometimes, should I pursue this or not? Should I achieve this or not? Because I can't achieve this because I'm not getting the right support. So many problems arise like that, like gender discrimination, harassment, and abuse. And some of them come to light and some of them don't come to light. So I thought, like why shouldn't I stand up for my friends? If I'm standing up for my friends, my fellow sisters, and for my other people, then I should be able to mark a place in the society. uh, Also, I strongly assume that one day, if we stand up for ourselves and fight against the injustice, that's the best thing we can do. And we always see that somebody else will free us from these. And I really thought that day, after looking at that girl in the bus, why should that somebody else be somebody else? Why that somebody else be us? So I really thought that. And then today in the modern world, like Miss, we also see many female Muslims activists been fighting for the rights of people, fighting for equality and chance for everyone to be treated with respect and fairness. So also that gave me a great enthusiasm and inspiration to pursue law as my career after A levels. So I hope y'all will also get inspired, and I hope my speech will be helpful for y'all as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Miss Afra. Let's break the stereotypes that law is only for men, or law is not for the Muslim women. May this workshop be the reason for that change. And I would like to remind the participants, you definitely must be having thousands of questions popping into your head while the guest speakers speak. So don't wait till the last moment. Drop your questions in the chat box. We can address them during the Q&A session. And moving on to the next question. Once again, this question is directed to Miss Rinuza Zainnahas. What challenges did you face as a Muslim lady lawyer, and how did you overcome them?
Okay, so just like how Afra said, when you even try to study law, people will ask, why law? You are so naive. Will you be able to do it? Things like that. So when Afra was telling me, it took like many years ago, how I felt and how people used to tell a little bit of things, bit and pieces about how law was and the perception that people actually had. Now, when you are a lawyer, when you enrolled as an attorney at law of the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka, you are like then you are a lawyer, proper attorney. So there are a lot of challenges. If I to say, I'm not talking about being a Muslim woman or whether it's a non-Muslim. If you're a lady, there are a lot of things which are happening in Sri Lanka. There are gender stereotypes, discrimination, and a lot of racism sometimes, but now it's less when you talk about the legal sphere. So if I'm to talk about the challenges I faced as a Muslim lawyer in particular, mostly what popped my mind at the inception of my career was that my belief. So my belief is anyway intertwined with my profession. It's no doubt there. So when you want to pray, we pray 5 times. It's our belief. So it's our religion. So sometimes I felt as if people will accommodate because there are court sessions, consultations at that time. So I was a little bit upset about that. But when I openly talked about that with my seniors at the inception of my career at that time, they accommodated my religious needs with open arms. Sometimes they remind me, Rinuza, it's time for you to go and pray. So it was like that. People think that you don't have time to pray, you are busy, that and this. But when if you have a challenge, if you have an issue, you have to always speak openly with the senior and your colleagues and other people in the field. So they actually accommodated my need, and alhamdulillah, I'm happy. Even during the time I wanted to break fast, there was some consultation. So they actually accommodate, they give me little time for myself to pray and all. So they actually accommodated my need. So you always make sure to talk what you really want. If there's a challenge, don't keep it up for yourself. If you have an issue, openly talk with the employer. I mean, talk with your senior, with your colleagues. They actually will help you. No matter what, they actually help you. And we have a perception in our society that, as you all know, it's not about law. Many professions are actually male dominated. So when you come to a male dominated profession, no, it doesn't matter whether you're a Muslim or non-Muslim lady lawyer. For a lady, there are certain things that people look, not the professionals look, but people look. They are lady-like, I mean, appearance, to the way they talk, non-high-pitched voices, to the way that they appear in the courts, how they represent the client. So they have a lot of questions. So some clients actually want a high-pitched, high heated argument possibilities within the lawyer to actually speak for the case, other than going for a lady lawyer. So now when you go to the level of Court of Appeal, Supreme Court, and the other avenues, the district court, or other things, it's only about the content, the quality, and how logical your argument is. It never matters whether you have a soft voice, whether you are soft spoken, and all that actually doesn't matter. No high heated arguments. You can explain your point like in a quality approach, in a logical way, to the point. So the justice can be attained in that way. You can win a case in that way. But when you see the general public, they always think, no, we need a good lawyer like a thug. So something like that. That's what the things that I've heard over the years. So things are there, the challenges are there for a lady. When you take our system, our society, mainly there are gender stereotypes, to gender discrimination, to racism. Now, no, not very racist though. When you go to the professional sphere, it's not like that. Although there can be challenges which a person might see, when you are a professional, when your conduct is really good, and you behave in a professional way in your conduct, and when you are honest with the client, when you do the level best that you can do, actually there is a future for a lady lawyer. That I say by my experience for the past years. So although there are challenges, we can overcome them by our way of conduct. And when we talk about in respect of a Muslim lawyer, first year, like the first time, and the inception mainly, I told this, but at the meantime there was a technical disruption. So mainly the prayer times, our belief, we have a question of whether we can break fast on time, and things like that come to the head and all. But when you are open about it, if you actually want the issues to be resolved, you have to talk to the employer or your senior, etc. So there are times that firstly, when I talk about my the things and all, I mean, we go for interview or something like that, I used to tell, I need my time to pray. It may be 5 to 20 minutes, and they openly accommodate my religious belief. Till to date, I have never had issues with my praying timetable versus my career, because I believe faith is also important. Being Muslims, we pray 5 times a day, so that is really important for us. We cannot compromise on that. So every time, not every time, I had seniors who were Muslims. So I have worked with a lot of non-Muslim lawyers till to date. Only one Muslim lawyer so far I worked the senior. Other than that, I worked a lot with the non-Muslim senior lawyers, PCs and all. But they never said a word when I wanted to pray. They accommodated. Sometimes they tell me, Rinuza, it's high time for you to pray, because we used to hear the azan near half stop sometimes, so we can hear azan. So they say, isn't it time to pray and all? They ask. Even my colleagues, they actually accommodate. They take my work sometimes. No, Rinuza, you can pray and come. We'll do that work for you. We will stay for you. We will back the things up. If there's something, we will just patch up. Just don't worry. So things like that. If you're open about it, there are people to help. That's one thing. Mainly Muslims, sometimes they think, even I thought at one point of time, it's not nice to say, maybe I was the only girl at that time in the English medium at the Faculty of Law, University of Colombo. So at the time I used to be a little bit like, don't know whether it's okay if I excuse and go because I need to pray, otherwise it will be color like that. I used to think, but actually they accommodate my needs. You have to be open about your issues. You have to openly talk to anybody, colleagues and your seniors. They actually help you. So that's the best way to, overcome those challenges in a male dominated profession as a lady lawyer. There can be many challenges, but as Surah Baqarah says, Allah does not burden a soul beyond it cannot bear. So that also comes into my mind. So challenges can be faced, and we can help each and every one of you if we can. If you all come to us, I mean, asking for help or something like that, that can be overcome. I mean, you can overcome any kind of challenge. And our profession is a very safe profession. I'm talking about in practical experiences. There are really good seniors. There are really good lady and non-lady lawyers. I mean, although it's a male-dominated profession, there are good lawyers. There are good people. It's a good profession. Although people have their, taboos and bias about what they see and what they have heard, misinformation to all that. But I believe it's actually a good profession for a girl, as Afra said earlier, to what Saara said a few minutes back. So when you are a lawyer, you are respected. People know you cannot play around. People know you cannot have wrong talks and things like that. So I think it's a good profession, and challenges can be, although you never take challenges, I mean, in a practical way, if something, better to talk, always talk to somebody and not keep it up to yourself. So that would be my idea about that.
Thanks, Rinuza, for that insightful answer. Let's move on with our next question. This question is to Miss Saara Bandara. What made you choose law as your profession, and how was the support system you had at IDMNC's campus when you were a law student?
So good evening and assalamu alaikum to all the ladies presented here. I mean, I will first answer the first question you asked me. That is, why did I choose law? So I don't know if it's the same audience today, but as I told in the last webinar as well, I accidentally fell into the law stream, to be honest, when I had not done any legal related subjects for my A levels. So there was a point where I was confused, like on what I should choose for my career, and I was like completely confused. So it was my mother who actually wanted me to do a law degree. So basically, at that point, I actually didn't have a proper reason why I should do law. But there was one reason, I mean, to be frank, it was that there was no maths included in law. So that was where one fine, like, reason why I chose to do law, because to be honest, I'm not good at maths. So it was like, I am a person who liked to, study all this theory-based stuff, and, so in law, we have so much of things to learn. Like I said previously, so the main reason I was actually only a 20-year-old. So that was one fine reason why I thought, okay, fine, I would, continue with doing law, because there's no maths. So, but then again, like I actually had no proper idea if, like, will I become a lawyer, or will I complete the degree, or will I kind of had a mindset that I'll quit at any moment. So now I will correlate the second question, the support I got from IDMNC. So the first lecture series that we had in our IHD in law, so that actually was one fine reason why I'm, continuing to read my attendees today. So that was one turning point in my life where I actually thought of, okay, fine, this is the thing for me, and this is the thing I should follow. So like we really got a very good support from IDM Nations campus. So like all the lecturers. So basically, all our lecturers were attorneys at law, and they really gave us a great support. Like right from the beginning, they actually taught us right from the basics. If I'm not, I mean, if I have to be specific, like now in most of the law schools, like there are certain time, I mean, it's actually not easy to understand law at the beginning, but in IDM, what we faced was like, we were taught right from the basics, like even the lecturers, even the assistant lecturers, they were like really helpful, even when it came to writing answers, when it came to academic writing and how to script your answers, like everything was taught in a very well perfect manner, and that is a really huge support for me today as well, when I sit for the attorneys at law examination. So we really got a good support, and the like if you are to follow your degree at IDMNC, we have an assignment and an exam based system there. So like everything happens on time, right? So I started following my law I mean, I first started the IHD in law, that was in 2019. And then we had a delay due to COVID. So, but apart from that, everything like assignment, deadlines, everything was done on time. So that's one good reason, because even the IHD in law, we were able, like as they promised us, we were able to complete it on time. But the only delay was with COVID. So that's actually a very good. I mean, it's a very nice, safe place, especially for a Muslim girl. It's a very safe place to do your law degree, where you can, complete your degree and at the end of the day decently graduate. So because we never faced any issues or any discrimination, everybody are treated equally, and the staff and the lecturers, everybody are really friendly people. Even today when I walk in there, very welcoming and very nice people. So with that being said, I would like to tell, like, now my reason at the beginning at the beginning to do law was because there was no maths. So I don't think that's like over here when there is an audience like this, I think there are more other things why you should choose law as a career. So basically, by doing a law degree or by completing the attorneys at law examinations and becoming an attorney at law, it's like you only don't, I mean, it is not only becoming a lawyer at the end of the day. There is like so much, it opens the door to so many employment opportunities as well. So, and also the next thing, if you really want to become rich, yeah, then this is the profession you have to pursue. So, and the other thing also, with what I have experienced so far is that when people get to know that you're doing law or that you're a lawyer, I mean, you gain a lot of respect from the society, right? So it's, I mean, it's and you've been recognized in a very good way, and you can build up your reputation, your social status. So that's one good benefit why you should do law. And the other thing is, like, by doing law, like I said previously, it's not that you only become a lawyer. There are so many pathways, like so not only becoming a practicing a lawyer, but you can, there are so many, you can become a lecturer. I mean, there's like, it opens, like, if you, and you can earn a lot when it goes to the corporate sector. So also this is a field where you don't have to stick, you can transfer your skills, and there's an option to change your field. So, and the other thing is that you get the chance of working with different types of people, and you can gain different experiences and face many challenges. So this is actually, I think it's a very nice profession to pursue. So, and I'm always thankful to IDMNC. If not for that first series of lectures I followed, I would not be not be, I mean, I would not become a law graduate today. So I mean, I really got a very good support, not only me, even my batchmates. So I think that IDMNC is a very nice, I mean, a very, how do I say it? It's a very decent place for a Muslim girl to do their law degree. I don't know if there was, I mean, it's the same audience, but likewise, I said in the previous webinar, we we actually never had all those, you know, social activities. I mean, you know, when it comes to universities, there is so much of, you know, unnecessary activities. So those are actually marketing tools. So those are like things that students actually want, like, you know, those talent shows, all those. But in IDMNC, you have only education related programs. So likewise, and when you come, I mean, coming from a Muslim background, you always know that your parents are strict, and many girls, you know, they are not being allowed to enter universities. So with such barriers, I think IDM Nations campus is a very nice, fine place where I could guarantee to the parents and to the students that you will like never face any sort of chaos or violence during your student life. You can peacefully follow your degree and decently graduate at the end of the day. And
Thank
yeah, and thank you so much, Mr. Munivara and the team for inviting me again for the webinar. So yeah, I hope you good luck to everyone.
Thank you, Miss Saara, for that amazing answer. Now that we are done with our main questions of the workshop, let's address the questions that are asked in the chat box. This question is to Miss Uzma Khan. Could you tell us about your day-to-day activities at the law college and whether it's safe for a girl, Muslim female participation, and about the extracurricular activities?
Right. So at law college, how it happens is like we have lectures on weekdays. So morning to evening, we have lectures. And also our lecturers are like, we have some of the best practicing lawyers as our lecturers. So that is actually very valuable. So apart from lecturers, there are so many extracurricular activities that you can take part in. So there's sports and all kinds of sports. Apart from that, I'd say, so when you're a law student, you know, what you do as a law student is advocacy, right? It's persuasive advocacy. So you have oral advocacy and written advocacy. So oral advocacy is when you argue cases in court and when you basically present your arguments and try to convince the judge to decide in your favor. So that is advocacy, oral advocacy. And then you have where you have to, like Ms. Rinuza was saying, how long they took several weeks to write a good written submission, because you have to do a lot of research and you have to structure it in a very proper way. There's a format, it has to be appealing. There are so many things that need to be taken into account. So then that's written advocacy. So when it comes to advocacy, one of the best platforms that you get to showcase your advocacy skills and even level up your advocacy skills is mooting. So a moot is basically a simulation of an actual court hearing. So you have court hearings where you have the judge and the two parties. So in a moot, what you do is it's a simulation of that, right? So as students, that's how we get to know what a court hearing is going to be like, what you're supposed to do, in your oral submissions, what you're supposed to do in your written submissions. So it's like a training before you go out there in the real world, in courthouses. So you can do that. So there are a lot of things that you can do at law college. There's the Moot Society, there is English Literary Association, you can do debating. So I'm also a member of the debate pool of Sri Lanka Law College, and we organize one of the biggest inter-university debates, that's the Hallstrop debates. And then there is also the media unit, and there are so many things that you can do under the media unit. There's announcing, there's writing. I'm the committee head, English committee head of writing. So there's writing, there's graphic designing. There are like a plethora of things under the media unit. There's also the Social Service League, which does social service projects. And then we also have, for the Muslims, we have the Law Students Muslim Majlis. So that is actually a very prestigious body, I would say, because it's actually the third oldest society in Law College. So Law College was established in 1883. So the societies are actually pretty old. So we have the union, the Law Students Union, which is the oldest, and then we have the Buddhist Brotherhood, and then we have the Majlis. So the Majlis is actually a very prestigious student body, and presidents and office bearers of Majlis have gone on to become very prestigious, successful lawyers. And the Majlis, we actually publish a law journal called the Mizan Law Journal, which is actually currently in its 54th edition. So it's one of the oldest law journals in Sri Lanka as well. It's one of the more recognized ones. So you have the Muslim Majlis, and then for the people from the other communities, you have the Buddhist Brotherhood, the Christian Students Fellowship, the Hindu Mahasabha. And apart from that, you also have the student unions, the Law Students Union and the Law Students Sinhala Union. And in order to become a member of the union, basically you had to run for elections. So there are elections at Law College, and it's actually a very big thing, the election. So that's how you get into the unions. Apart from that, we also have the human rights movement, the equality initiative, and so many other activities. And there are so many events that are organized every week. Sometimes the events even like overlap. So in one day, you might have like 3 events. You don't know which one to go to. And it's always a very eventful place. It can sometimes even be a bit overwhelming when I first went, because there's so much to do. And later on, you can pick and choose what you want to do and what suits you. So there's a lot of things like that. It's I would say it's a land of opportunities. There's so much that you don't even have time to do. Like there's no end, and you get a lot of opportunities from outside as well. And especially at Law College, we get some opportunities that other law students don't get, because we are a professional institute. We're not a university or anything. It's a professional institute. So for some gatherings of lawyers or for some sports events, it's only when it comes to law students, only the law students of Law College are invited. They usually don't invite other law students, because we are following an attorney at law qualification. So there's so much you can do. And academics wise also, we have, like I said, the best practicing lawyers. So you gain so much from their insights. It's really worthwhile to even sit in class during lectures. I usually don't like missing lectures, because it's not just the subject, but they also tell you so much about, their experiences, and there's so much to learn. So I would say it's, in my opinion, I think it's the best place to study law, because it puts you in that real world, like gives you that experience from day one. Because like I said, we are not an academic institute, it's a professional institute. So because of that, the experience is a bit different. And in answering your second question, is it safe for a Muslim girl? So of course, it is safe. I have never felt unsafe. There is no such thing. There are quite a good number of Muslim girls and also Muslim boys. So it is very safe, and you can basically maintain your identity. Like Ms. Rinuza said, as a Muslim, you can maintain your identity. There's absolutely no problem. So we have a Muslim Majlis room. Not all societies have a room, but there is a room. So you can go and pray there. And now, since the room is under construction, the Law College is currently under renovation. So the room is also under construction, but so we didn't have a place to pray basically. And then we actually spoke to the room that is shared by the Majlis and the Sinhala Union, and got a space from their room for us to pray. So that shows that, they actually accommodate your needs, and they're very open and very inclusive, and there is no discrimination, no racism as such. It is completely based on merit. If you are good enough, if they feel that you're capable, you're committed, there's nothing basically stopping you at Law College. So there's no discrimination, and it's of course very safe as can be. And yes, I would say it has been very, very enjoyable so far. So I would like to invite the participants here also. So if you can sit for the exam, that would be great. Yes, that's basically my experience.
And there is a question for Miss Saara Bandara. Is there an age limit to when we can begin our law degree?
So basically, I don't think age should be a barrier to start your law degree, but I think as per the guidelines of law college, you should complete your A levels. I mean, if you are to become an attorney at law, you definitely have to have 2 seat passes and 1 S pass, if I'm not mistaken, as per the new guidelines. So when I started, when I enrolled to IDMNC to do my law degree, yeah, I was around 20. So I don't think age should be a barrier, but then again, with the guidelines of Sri Lanka, so it's best if you could start doing your law degree after A levels.
Thank you, Miss, for that answer. And there is a lot of questions in the chat box about the honesty to be maintained in this career. So the question is how to be a truthful lawyer according to Islamic rules. And there's many other questions related to honesty. And I think our guest speaker, Miss Rinuza, will be able to answer this question.
So law students might be, there's something called the cap rank rule. Whoever the client is, if you are in a good position to take that case, you have to take it. But if you are a Muslim, that's what I said. At a very young age, I told about my aunt, who is far distant relative of mine, how she stood up for justice and the way in which till today she's a respected lawyer. I never thought I will be able to work with her, but I did. For about 3 years, I really worked with her. So when you see, so I was always going by Surah Nisa's verse. I said it earlier also. I stood firmly for justice, just like how Allah has said in the Quran. So it's up to your conscience. You should be able to sleep peacefully at night. That's the criteria that I have for myself. If I feel, so for example, during my apprenticeship study and afterwards, when I worked at the Justice Department, a lot of cases are coming up because I'm a mother. My senior, who was also a mother of 3, she was a mother of 3 children. So she always used to give me the sexual abuse and those cases which related to children. So sometimes you feel fishy when you read it's a case brief just like this. So when you read, you feel something is not right, or either it's made up from the victim side. You feel it's not only about rape or anything, murder to theft to many things. So then I asked my senior, I don't feel that this is the right case that we should represent, because you have to be honest. At the end of the day, my senior and I, we used to be very open-minded about things. We openly talk about certain things, certain principles about Buddhism, and I speak about Islam and the ways in which we can accommodate. I mean, the way we think. So I always go by at the end of the day, we are questioned. So we have to be very, according to my faith, you have to always think about stand up firmly for justice. Even if it's against myself, even if it's against my family, or even if it's against my parents, the rich, the poor, I have to stand up for that. Because when you're in grave, you're alone, right? So we have to be questionable for whatever we do. So when something is fishy, when you feel that the facts are not telling with what they have made up. So sometimes the stories are made up. You read a brief that's like this. So mainly we did written submissions for the Court of Appeal and then to the Supreme Court if it's an appeal in that stage. So the lower courts, the case record comes to us. So it's like this size. So we have to read just like how Uzma said earlier, it's a research, it's a typical research atmosphere. You have to read, read and read. You have to take a lot of things into your head. It's actually cumbersome, but I loved what I did. So it was like this. You have to read everything. The way the witness had given statements at the magistrate court to the high court, everything is written down. It's recorded, as you all might know, in a court, in a court of law. It records every single day. Whatever the witness says will be recorded. So when you read that, you feel, we call it a deportment and a demeanor of a witness. So the credibility, that we have several tests. If you are law students, you will get to know about credibility, and we call it like timeliness. You have to come to court with clean hands. Certain things are there. So credibility, there are certain tests you follow as a lawyer and a judge when they give the verdicts. They go by that rule. credibility and probability of what they have told, whether it's in a reasonable man perspective, whether it's the correct way, and etc. So things like that. So when you read, you know, sometimes with the experience, you know, this is some made up story or whether it's an honest story. So you know, whenever I ask my senior, I don't feel okay with that. I take a lot of time to prepare for a written submission and to represent, because you have to be truthful for yourself and to the court, because we are professionals. At the end of the day, we have to be professionals, and we have to have a good conduct. I don't feel like a good written submission, because we take so much of time. We do a very hard work to prepare. So it takes a lot of time, and you read and write, and proof has to be read and etc. So it's a big process. So if it's fishy, my madam used to say, just ignore. Don't do a big work. Just write the basic written submissions or things like that, and don't support if you don't feel, because with the experience, if you are practicing Monday, you will know after reading a huge brief, if you feel that it's not right according to you have a conscience as well, so you can think for yourself whether, in a reasonable man, would this be a practical thing, whether this story is realistic, so things like that. So always don't stand up for things that are made up just for the sake of money, or just for the sake of fame or things like that. So even if you, the first few years of practicing a lawyer is not easy. You don't get a lot of money. It's not about money also, it's about your hard work, your focus, which will make, money should be the secondary focus. The first thing should be to be able to represent the client in a proper way and keeping up your professional conduct. Then only you will get more cases. If you do well, people will come. So that's the next thing. So if you feel that something, the motive is dishonest or things like that, never do things like that. Never do or take cases like that. There will be cap blank rule, but it's up to you to decide whether you want to do this case or not. If so, you tell to the face. Sometimes we have to tell the client, no, you can go to another lawyer, because we are not happy with this case. So there was a case, I don't know whether I'm taking a lot of time, Sameeha. So there was once a case with regard to a child. Mother and father was fighting for the child, but the child child was not happy with either the mother or father. So mother was very desperate. She was the main victim of the father's behavior and etc. So we were representing the mother, but the father were not represented by the lawyers. Majority of the Nugegoda bar did not take his case, because people knew he was the one who was the wrongdoer and things like that. So just because you are a lawyer, you should not be accepting every brief that comes across you. It's upon you to decide what you have to do the right thing at all times, because you are Muslim. It's not about money. It's about you should be able to sleep peacefully at night with the halal income that you gain. And even if it's just 1 rupee, or for example, even just 1 rupee, you have to earn it in a halal way. So be honest. Allah is watching, and always stand up for justice. And I think you will be able to sleep peacefully, and you will have self-satisfaction one day when you look back your age and the things that you have done. You will be happy. And I think that's the advice that I have to give.
For the day, as the session is about becoming a successful lawyer, there is a question related to being a successful law student, and this question is from Miss Uzma Khan. Please tell us how you worked through to become Island Second.
So I think it goes without saying that you have to obviously put in the work, like you have to put a lot of hard work. And you have to also, I would say most importantly, work very smart, because how the exam is, how the exam works is you have 3 papers. You have a language paper, you have a general knowledge paper, and you have an IQ paper, right? So you have a language paper for 100 marks, and general knowledge and IQ 50-50 make up 100. And like I said, the exam is extremely competitive. You can very well miss out by 1 mark. There are like hundreds of people who fail because they are just 1 mark below the cutoff. like hundreds, so many. And there are like so many people who get 2-3 marks less. So if you see the number of people who get 1, 2, 3, 4 marks less below the cutoff, that can be like several hundreds, right? No one gets very, very low marks. It's all around that because everyone is more or less on the same level. And like I said, it's so competitive. So you have to keep that in mind, and you have to, I think, prepare. Your approach should be according to the exam, right? Your approach. So if you know that it's a competitive exam like this, you must always try to get a competitive edge. So how I did that was like I focused mostly on English and the IQ papers because I know general knowledge, there's literally no limit. There's no syllabus. They can ask you literally anything. They can ask you anything and you can't say anything back because there's no recorrection for the exam. You don't know, they don't publish the answers, right? And say now, if this year's exam was held in, say, July of 2023, then the paper gets out in next year, July, just before the other exam starts. So no one sees the questions. The answers don't come out anyway. So you can only speculate, right? So you don't know how the marking is. So you're basically in the dark. So you have to do a lot of work on your own. You can attend classes, you can refer books, you obviously have to do the past papers. So it's a lot of work, I would say, individual work, and it's a lot of strategizing. That's what I did. So I knew that I studied general knowledge as much as I can, as much as I could. I followed a class and I studied everything. I did a lot of self-studies. So in class, when we used to get one question, one general knowledge question, I used to read up, like, I used to think, okay, so what are some other possible questions we could get and come up with those questions, look those up, bring the answers, like find the answers, always look for the updated answers, even on the internet. So general knowledge is obviously, it's like a vast ocean, it's endless. But by studying that subject, I think I gained so much knowledge. Like by just studying for the exam, that subject, you gain a lot of knowledge. So that's definitely a big plus. So studied that as much as I could, and also mainly focused on, I would say, the language paper, English and IQ. So English paper, at first glance, when you see, you might think that, okay, this is really easy. And it's easy for everyone because everyone can do that paper. Again, it's about the competition, like how can you score more than the others, right? So everyone can do it well. How can you score better than the others? So it's about the strategy, the small tips, how you have to always try to make yourself better than the others, not make any mistake. You can't afford to make mistakes in like part 1 in grammar and things like that. And also a lot of it rests on the essay. So they give you like an analytical essay that could be on current affairs or something maybe a law student, a prospective law student should know. So you should be well read on those because facts are very important. So if they ask you about, like during our time, we had a couple of essay topics, and I wrote on some, it was to do with the economic crisis and the lack of investments. The country was faced, like there were no investments, foreign investments. So if you were to answer a question like that and you have to write a short essay, so you should be able to, in a very, very concise manner, in a very clear manner, put out the points, put them across, so that when the person that reads it sees that, okay, these are the points, it's very logical, it flows well, obviously no grammar mistakes, it should be well structured. And after the person reads, they should have a very good impression, right? So it's easier said than done. I can just tell this, but it took a lot of practice. Like I used to write essays and give my mother to correct. And even like I didn't actually get the chance to get them corrected by my teachers, like my class teachers. So whenever I got the chance, I used to send them emails. So I did everything that I could, I would say, to pass this exam. And IQ also, I did like so many papers. Obviously, I timed each and every question that I did. So you get like hundreds and literally thousands of questions that I did. When I go through the questions, I can see that I have timed everything. Like every question, there's no question that I have done that I haven't timed. So I can remember once I think I forgot to time the question, and then I felt a bit weird because I always have my phone next to me and I put the stopwatch, and not the stopwatch, the timer, and then just to see how many seconds. So sometimes you can see that some questions you might take maybe a minute. Some questions you can do in like 3-4 seconds if you actually practice really well. So I put in a lot of effort, and of course you have to have faith in Allah, because you can put all the effort in the world, but it will count for nothing if you don't have a good iman, and know that whatever the result that you get is for the best. Even if you fail or even if you pass, it's for the best of reasons. So obviously I had that that made me going. And yeah, it was actually quite hard, because I was also at university, and then I used to miss so many lectures, especially post the exam. We had the online lectures at university. I used to literally miss everything. I used to go to the library and stay the whole day, like from morning to evening there, because I know then only I can just sit and study. So so it was like that. You had to put in a lot of hard work, I would say. And yeah, so, and work really, really smart, and be very strategic. That is most important. Strategy is number one, and then comes, I think, hard work.
Thank you, Miss Uzma, for that answer. And we have come to the end of the session. But last but not the least, audience, please take a few minutes. Let us know about your feedback on this workshop by filling out the poll that's being displayed on the screen right now. And I would like to once again thank our guest speaker for the day, Miss Rinuza Zainnahas, and the co-panelists, Miss Saara Bandara, Miss Uzma Khan, and Miss Afra Ameen. Thank you very much for sharing these valuable insights with us all. We hope that today's workshop did not only give a deep understanding of the legal profession, but also a sense of empowerment and inspiration to pursue your dreams as a successful Muslim woman in the legal world. As according to the conversation we had, yes, it's challenging, it's competitive, it requires a lot of hard work, smart work, but as long as you have that passion, the challenges you can always overcome, as said by our dear guest speakers. If you have a will, you have a way. Thank you all for joining with us. All the best for your future.
Thank you so much, Sameeha. I would like to thank everybody, and it was such an insightful session. And I wish you all the best, and may Allah guide you to the correct path in your career in the future. And if something that we can help with, please always get in touch and let us know how we can help the youngsters who are entering the profession. Because we did not have so much of, I mean, even at the faculty, we did not have a lot of Muslim girls who are coming to the profession. So with open arms, we will, welcome you all to the profession, and let us know in which way that we can help. And I would like to thank again for having me. And especially I would like to thank Mr. Giman Surya Bandara as well as Munivara for the support and the coordination and everything to the last minute. Thank you, Sameeha, and the other panelists as well. And I hope you all have a good day and a wonderful journey ahead. And I wish you all the best again. Thank you so much.